Good morning, viewers, and a very happy Independence Day to you all from NewsX. I'm Kriti Mehta. Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi, in his Independence Day address from the Red Fort, has announced a major push towards energy self-resilience and reliance under the theme of energy independence. He announced 5 new nuclear reactors to be operationalized in the next 6 to 7 years and set a target of 100 gigawatts of nuclear power capacity by 2047. The Prime Minister said areas previously marked as no-go zones for offshore exploration are now being opened as go-ahead zones to tap deep-sea minerals and energy resources under Operation Sagar Manthan. He linked the move to India's broader push on rare earths and gas exploration, saying self-reliance in energy is critical to powering the country's growing AI and semiconductor ambitions. The announcements came as India celebrates its 80th Independence Day today. Let's open this up for discussions with our panelists. I'm joined in by defense and geopolitical expert, retired Major General Sudhakar Ji. I also have with me Air Commodore retired Sanjeev Mehendi Rata, former IAF officer. Venkat Narayan is there with us, senior journalist, and KV Lakshman as well, political analyst with us. Thank you to you all for joining us in this discussion. Let's start this discussion with General Sudhakar, who joins us. General Sudhakar, thank you very much for joining us on this. Am I connected with General Sudhakar? Can you confirm? All right, I don't think we have General Sudhakar in the discussion with us. Let's go across to Air Commodore Sanjeev Mehendi Rata, who's there with us. Commodore, thank you very much for joining us. How important is this goal that Prime Minister Modi has laid out, energy reliance, energy self-sufficiency?
Hello, good morning, and good morning to all the panelists. As you can see, we are reaching 80 years. And we had got our political independence in 1947. But in today's words, are we really independent would be directed by whether we are strategically independent or not, whether we can take our own decisions or not, whether we can manage the whole world, not just the neighbors, because today's wars are not fought just between the neighbors. The nature of the wars have changed, as we have seen in the recent past. And we would be having to handle the whole world, and not everybody would want you to develop at the rate you are developing today. So the strategic independence of taking our own decisions without any economic pressures or any other pressures in terms of the weapons or in any way which can default us or stop us from developing or taking our own decisions. Because the wars today are economic wars also. The wars are disinformation wars also. So we have to beat all these wars. And that is why we need to be absolutely self-reliant, not just in words, but in terms of developing our own issues, everything which is required, and thereafter not depend on anybody else for the other things. That would mean the real independence, and that is what we are moving towards, and that is what was hinted in terms of various aspects, the 7 which he had informed. So we would need to be improving on all those and taking all the youth along with us if we need to reach a level where we are looking forward.
Right, General Sudhakar, and I want to come to you. Firstly, what are your key takeaways from Prime Minister's address today? He's spoken about a lot of things, including just, really laying out a roadmap for the next, let's say, 10, 20 years till we achieve that Viksit Bharat mission by 2047. He's laid out a number of big schemes, announced big moves, Saptadhara, clarion call. Also, he has given focuses on technology, soft power, but also on energy security. He's announced 5 new nuclear reactors, several thousand gigawatts of energy worth that he wishes for us to achieve. What really needs to be done to achieve these goals? How far are we? What should be our immediate steps?
Yeah, Priti, good morning. Thank you for inviting me for your show and my very warm greetings to the distinguished co-panelists. The Honorable Prime Minister has laid out the roadmap in that his basic, the high-end objective is to shape the environment, India and Indian environment, to become a global power. So towards that end, although he has outlined 7 points under acronym, all these 7 points, they are inclusive of anything and everything at a macro level. So, but issues, naysayers will always point out, mistakes and deficiencies. But then, as a prime minister, I think he's done a good job by highlighting a very progressive, forward-looking roadmap and given a very positive pathway. Towards that end, he's not only put India at the center of a global supply chain, but also for the first time, I think any leadership of his stature has highlighted the food part to go global. Indian food has to go global. And also, he has highlighted that India must lead innovation. Well, it is simply to make a statement, it's a different issue to actually implement it. And in implementation part, we are the ones we are actually defaulting a lot. So it's being a noisy democracy, but we are moving slowly but surely. There is no denying the fact. When you come to the innovation, I personally feel that the whole lot of ecosystem has to undergo change. Our education has to be also revised. I haven't had a look at the NEP, but I'm given to understand that much of the issues have been addressed there in a comprehensive manner. Education, what I used to learn in class 11 during my time, they have to gradually keep getting upgraded. I had been to a couple of countries overseas. I found that was being taught in class 7th, whereas I learned calculus in class 11th and 12th during my time. So when I was in National Defense Academy, so it is on the STEM lines of STEM. STEM is something which needs to be promoted right as a way of life and culture. Our general orientation in the society is to grow up and become a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer. That's it. That our growth starts, finishes there. But there is something more than that. We need to produce. Look at Iran. Iran has got the 4th largest PhDs. They have got 6th largest STEM, the global scientists. They are being cited. Here is a country which is in war, which has already been blacklisted as a terrorist state. Look at the percentage of education, 99%. 97 to 98%. That is, I'm talking about the overall. But if you look into the youth and the adult education, look at the high percentage. We have made a quantum jump between 1947 until 2026. There is no denying the fact 67 to 73% of literacy, rising from 12% at the time of independence, is hell of a great jump. But we could do better. We need to focus on doing more of PhD, more of STEM subject, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Now, innovation also could be given another, you could add on. Also, he's given one beautiful thing, infrastructure development. It involves the airports, the national highways, the pipelines. It talks about the hydel power stations, the bridges. There is a lot that India has done in past 10 years or 12 years, and we need to do a lot more. And they have to be of global standard. He also spoke about becoming a defense supplier. From 684 crores approximately 10 years back, we have risen to touch something close to 40,000 crores per year. That is the kind of jump we have received. And almost 75% of the budget allocation goes for capital procurement from our indigenous vendors, the vendors who belong to India. That's a very high note of achievement. I think we need to focus more on this. Also, in one of his talk, during his talk, he covered from component to product. That is where we are actually in a very, very I would say on the bottom line, we need to assemble the mobile. We are importing something close to 75 to 80% of electronic components from multiple countries. Not that I'm saying any country in the world cannot produce 100% product or component of a particular product. They have to be dependent, but the dependency has to be reduced. Also, spoke about the blue economy, ocean economy. In
Yeah.
the ocean economy, Kriti, if you allow me, as on today, we have 12 independent industrial corridors, small and big. When you compare this with China, they have, but we are aiming for 26 corridors by 2030. Budget has been allocated last year. But now take a comparative matrix. We have 13 major harbors as against 39 in China, 199 minor. They have got 2,000 minor harbors. Well, people may say that we are not a comparable component to be compared with China. Well, then it is always better to compare and progress. Competition is very healthy as long as it doesn't go into the confrontation. The third thing I am saying about the harbor capacity, China has got 270 million TEU. TEU is the 20 feet equivalent unit. We have a capacity of 20 million TEU. And when you come to the number of ships all over the world, there are 1,120,000 major ships in the world, out of which India has got only 1,500 ships. 500 are actually retiring. So this is one aspect wherein we need to focus on, and government has done a good job by actually going in for it. They're targeting something close to 1,000 more ships by 2035 or so. And we have just about 5% India's ships which carry the cargo. 95% were dependent on foreign vessels. 27 shipyards in India, 170 in China. Why am I bringing out this? Is because unless our economic might enhances, we cannot actually expand or develop and look forward to becoming a global power.
Yeah.
Today we have 4.19 trillion US dollar economy. We need to gallop faster, become a 5, 7, 10, 15 and 20 trillion or 30 trillion as fast as possible. From there would lie our military might, our innovation, and everything else. It's a great thing that is doing, putting the thought process of the country onto a positive and productive path. And last but not the least is the soft part that he has spoken of. You go to the African continent, you go to Central Asian Republic, go to Europe, go to Latin America. You will always find the Bollywood movie songs being hummed from a small child to an old man. That is the power of the soft power that can actually have an outreach.
Yeah.
But the point is being missed out here. Diplomacy and dialogue, if we have to become a global power, somewhere it is actually missing. We need to focus on this. Military diplomacy will play a very important role if India has to rise to become a global power. That needs to be given due focus. And we need to take some kind of a non-linear kind of decisions as far as the innovations are concerned. If some guy is good, some person is actually, out of the lot, he's the shining spot, then he needs to be picked up by the leading private and the public dispensation in the country and brought up to the limelight and given all kind of support. So these are the few reflections that I have in response to your question. There are many more. Once you come back in the second round, maybe I'll make some value addition. Back to you, please.
Thank you so much for your points there. Mr. Narayanan, I want to come to you now. The Prime Minister, and shift our focus back to the question of energy, which is our focus for this half hour. The Prime Minister set a target of 100 gigawatt nuclear power by 2047. He's also announced plans to start 5 new reactors this decade, plus a major milestone in fast breeder technology. Do you see these as realistic goals, and what role will private sector and international partnerships play?
Well, I think we have achieved considerable progress, but a lot more needs to be done. I think Samudra Manthan is going to hopefully do the trick. The offshore drilling for minerals and oil, we still import more than 88% of our oil needs and more than half of our gas needs. So if we look for oil, under the Samudra Manthan scheme. I think hopefully that will yield results. But I want to concentrate on education. It's talking about providing online training for people to appear in competitive exams. That's a wonderful idea. But the fact is, there are 25 crores of school students in India, and only 20% of the schools have access to internet. And every third person in this country is still illiterate. Another third is semi-literate. Only one third is literate. If we go by the data we have. So it's very, very important that we concentrate on education and provide maybe laptops or some other facility or inexpensive mobile phones to all the students so that they have access to internet and benefit the government's scheme to offer training, online training for competitive exams and all that. And the other thing is, I think we are producing graduates who cannot find jobs. We should concentrate on career training after class 10. They should have a system by which students can be tested and found out whose interest is in what, and then encourage them to take up that as a career. And manufacturing, he has played he played a importance in his speech, Mr. Modi. But at class 11 onwards, if children are encouraged to take up some training in some kind of profession, that will be much better. And the wealth that is being created in India is being controlled by barely less than 100 families or 100 individuals. That is not, we must have an even kind of share for all the people of India. Only then we can claim that we are a developing country.
Absolutely right. Let's also, in fact, now go across to Mr. K.V. Lakshman, who's there with us in the discussion. Mr. K.V. Lakshman, we are looking at several things for India. Looking ahead for 2030 and 2047, does this Independence Day address mark a genuine shift in India's energy doctrine, or do you think it's a continuation of what we have had so far in terms of our existing policies, but with higher ambition?
No, you put it absolutely right. Today's speech is a continuation of whatever we have been having, along with a strong focus on energy requirements and use of nuclear energy for that. So, so other than this, I mean, there are certain good aspects of Prime Minister's speech, wherein he is talking about AI and free coaching for youth, an aspect that Narayanan sir also mentioned. I mean, if it is one thing to say something, but it is absolutely another to implement it. I mean, we'll have to see how many of these wonderful sounding programs finally appear on the ground and are in place for people to use. I mean, that is the final delivery we have to look at. Otherwise, but this is by Prime Minister Modi standards, by far his shortest speech so far. And And there are the other aspects of current happenings he touched upon, and I think he was perturbed a bit by the developments, especially in the youth. So he does want the country to take a closer look at how the youth are progressing forward and their thought process. Especially, it seems to me that the very recent developments of the past fortnight or so at the back of our Prime Minister's mind when he's addressing the youth.
All right, okay, sure. I want to come back once again now to our other guests. I actually want to start with Commodore Mehendi Ratta. Commodore, several big announcements, of course, but if we had to rank them in terms of strategic importance for our economy and energy security, what do you think are some of the most important missions that the Prime Minister has laid the roadmap for? The top three, let's say.
Unmute.
Yeah, please go on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just tell you point wise what all is required to be done still besides all these 7 things, and which is stopping us from reaching our goal right now. The first one is, as the government has been woken up recently and has realized after these students' protest that we cannot leave a pocket aside and try and develop. We will have to take everybody along, and the youth is a very important aspect out of that. And also, what we have realized and the government has realized is that the lackadaisical approach in terms of various aspects, including the examination, which is just one, and the education, it is not going to last and it cannot be taken for granted. And those things have woken up the government. Now, let me tell you where the problems lie. From education to employment, there is a major gap out here, and we are a young nation. We may be having about 15 crore people waiting today for various kind of employments or coming up for employment, and obviously it is not there for all. The government has spoken about it, and initially, if you remember, the last year they had spoken about 1 crore people for skill development. Today it has been spoken 1 crore people for AI education. So these aspects will work. All these aspects are small steps, but what we need to cover the gap is between the education, that is the schooling and the college, to the employment. It should be seamless, and that is how it is going to be, and that is what is going to make India strong. And that is what I mean when I say we cannot develop in pockets. We will have to develop as a whole. Like the other esteemed panelists have also brought out in some other words, that we will have to comprehensively improve in all the fields, and only then can we reach our strategic independence, which we are talking about, and not just the political independence. The reason I gave you was that in today's world, there are no neighbors. Everybody can reach you, and we will have to manage with the pressures of each and every nation which come upon us. And if we can handle those and still develop, and that is called with taking our own decisions and not being forced to take decisions because of economy or any other reason, that is when we call ourselves really independent.
Absolutely.
And that is what we are working towards, yes.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you very much. Then we'll wrap up this discussion. Thanks to you all, gentlemen, for joining me in this discussion today on